Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Her Business Elevated podcast. And I have a wonderful guest today. I always love to talk about branding because that is kind of the core of what we need to have in order to have a strong online presence. And I have someone here today who's going to share all about branding. Her name is Christi Cooper, and she helps experts and speakers to ditch generic branding and build personality-powered websites that turns heads and books clients. So she has over 25 years of design experience, and she runs Cooper and Hart Creative. So thank you so much for being here today, Christi.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
You know what? I want to first start off by finding out, just introduce yourself. And I already gave kind of like a brief bio, but just share some things that make you happy in life. Tell us about your hobbies maybe and things that you do. We know you design brands, but what makes you come alive?
Yeah, I really enjoy hiking, actually. I live in Colorado, and I moved here 3 years ago with my family. Just being in the trees and the mountains really feeds my soul, I guess you could say. What else? I love dance. I've always loved dance and movement. I'm not currently doing any dance classes, but right now I'm in martial arts. So we do taekwondo with my girls.
Movement.
Movement is really important. I do yoga every morning, you know, things like that.
Wow, very disciplined. So tell me about the dance. Like, what kind of dancing do you like?
Oh, yes. I've done a variety over the years, but I used to be a belly dancer, actually. So for 11 years, and nobody ever expects it because I'm a pretty calm person when you meet me, right? Like I don't look like the person who would get up on stage and perform, but I did it for 11 years. And
I love that.
Yeah,
that's a pleasant surprise to hear you love belly dancing. That's so cool. And do you still perform, or do you still belly dance today, or?
Things got busy when I had my daughters, and then I started my business, and it's been years, but I maybe I'll go back to it at some point.
Very, very cool. So you're artsy, you're creative. So as far as like, 'cause your personality shows that you are a colorful person. You are lively. You have energy. You have life. And so, I mean, I'm looking at your background now in your room. And for those who are watching on YouTube, you can see that like Christi is alive.
Yes, we got lots of color.
Yes. And so that translates, I'm pretty sure, really well to branding. And so, okay, tell us about your business and what inspired you to start it.
Yeah. So I was working at a design agency. I actually worked there for nearly 12 years, and I was burnt out. Like, the client types were varied. So some clients were great and some were not so great. And the processes and hours, it was just a lot. And I really wanted to do things my way. And I had my young kids, and I wanted more flexibility in my schedule. And so I started to do my business on the side, freelancing. And then I went full time after my second daughter was born, basically on faith, because I had one client and no savings. And so
you just hopped straight into it.
I just jumped into it, and it worked out. Wow. And that's been 6.5 years now. And I just really felt called to serve people doing work in the world that's positive, that's like they actually care about what they're doing with whatever, whether they're serving people or helping the environment or whatever it is. Like, I wanted it to be more than just the bottom line, I didn't want to work with people who are just trying to make a quick buck off of anybody, right?
There's no life in that. And brings some personality, some life, some joy into what we do. And I love that you want to serve your community in that way. And so that said, I wanted to sort of unpack what that means, because a lot of people have brands, but you're building personality powered brands. So what's the difference? And then why do you believe that matters so much to entrepreneurs?
Yeah. So a lot of my clients tend to be solopreneurs, or they started out as solopreneurs, or their partners, just very small businesses. And I find that your personal brand, and I know there's obviously talk in the world, you may or may not know, or I'm sure you know, but people listening may or may not know the difference between personal brands and business brands. And I think that for those whose personal brand is a business, or who are the founders of their business and their organization, their personality is like, that's the roots. Like, that is the thing that attracts their people to work with them. The way they work with people, the way they talk to people, the way they talk about their work, all of that comes into it. And so you want your branding, and branding is such a nebulous term, right? It's like, what is branding? It's
is it logos? Is it the color palette? Like,
it's everything. And like, I think a lot of people think like, oh, logo and colors and things, and that's like your visual brand identity pieces. But branding is really all of the experience that people have with your business, right? So all of the touch points, whether it's a social post or a conversation at a meeting or a networking group or visiting your website or a landing page or a video that you posted, all of those things come into play in your branding. And you're trying to bring your personality into it, because that's what attracts your best people, and that allows you to show up with more confidence, and you don't feel like you have to perform, especially if you've come from a corporate background or like a more organizational background where you felt like you had to be a certain way in order to get things done or achieve your goals, right? And when you're doing your own business, you get to do it your way, and you get to show up how you want to show up.
And freedom in that.
Yes, it's freedom, and there's so much value in that. And when your personality shines through in all of your branding touch points, it's just so much more powerful.
I think so too. I totally agree with you. But I know there's a lot of people that they have a brand, but they feel like it's not matching who they are. And so they're not showing up the way they want to because their brand doesn't align with their own values or their voice. And so is there a kind of a mindset shift that they can make to get into that place where they are able to align with their brand? Or what are some steps, or what are some things they should do to figure all of that out?
Yeah, I think part of it is first recognizing that if you have been showing up as thinking you have to show up a certain way, or maybe you are modeling after someone else, and realizing like that maybe that's not you completely, and realizing that you and who you are can shine through. So I would say that's the first step, is recognizing if you are performing or kind of copying or modeling someone else.
Right.
Thinking that's the path to success, which, I mean, we've all been there. Yeah. I'm guilty of that in my earlier days. So, and then kind of thinking through like, how do you want to show up? How do you show up with your people?
Right.
And a lot of that is like just sitting down and like putting out those keywords, like what are those characteristics that really show up for you in your branding, or in how you work with people or how you talk to people. And then when you start to get into visuals and stuff, it's a lot more nuanced. So you might want to hire a pro.
Hire someone.
If you don't have
Christi's there for it.
If you don't have a natural gift for it, like it might be more challenging to bring it into everything, but you can always start with your voice and your messaging. Those are usually the things that are a little more natural for people to start to bring that out.
The voice and the messaging. But that leads me to my next question for you, because a lot of people try to piece it together themselves. I have done this. And so my question, I guess, is what mistakes do you see very often when you're working with clients or just out there in the universe? What do you see that is kind of getting in the way of someone really being themselves in their brand when they DIY or template their way through it?
Yeah. I think part of it is just not recognizing it. But a lot of times you start out, and there's definitely a place for having a template and DIYing. You're getting started, you're bootstrapping, you're figuring it out, you're figuring out what you want to do and where you want to be. And then from there, oftentimes as your business grows, you start to add things here and you add things there. And then you have I actually had a client last year. She came to me and she had 5 or 6 different looks, like just
Oh,
visual looks between her social media, her landing pages, her checkouts, her website. Like it was all over the place.
okay.
And it was so confusing. That's a big mistake I see is like after you've been in business a little while, you add all these things and then it's
Mhm.
like, it's kind of chaotic.
Yeah,
And when your people go to visit, then they are so confused, and confused people don't take action.
that's
Like
true.
they just don't.
Because they don't know, like, is this you on Instagram and you on TikTok? Like, which one is that both your brand?
Yeah, it's like, is this you? And then I click on this. I'm like, am I in the right place? Like,
Right.
there's lots of little cues that our brains take in,
Yeah.
and then we're like, and it just feeds that
Uncertainty.
uncertainty. I was going to say unsuredness. I'm like, that's not a
Yeah.
word. Yeah, it feeds uncertainty, and then you're instead of building trust, you're kind of losing trust.
Hmm. That's important.
So that's an aspect of it, and then the other part is just we change our messaging all the time, or like we're not really clear on like how
Mhm.
our voice is showing up.
Right.
And so the messaging on your website is different than the messaging on your social media. It's different from
Yeah.
the messaging from your interviews.
Wow.
And it's the same result. It's all disjointed and
Wow.
disconnected.
Okay, so then between the color palette and all those assets and things that go with branding, like the visuals, and then the messaging and the tone and how you show up, what are some of the, like, I guess maybe what's the biggest, highest impact tweak that you could mention right now that would reflect a better branding for an individual? Like if they just wanted to choose one thing to work on this week, what would you choose for them?
I would say revisit your website hero section, like the first thing that they see when they land on your homepage.
Hmm.
And make sure that what you're saying there is very clear and specific,
Yeah.
as well as in your voice. Like, we don't want it to be vague and broad. We don't want it to be full of jargon. There's a lot of people, especially experts, like we're so inundated in our world that we use jargon all the time, and then we use that when we talk about what we do, but our people don't use that same jargon. And so I was actually talking to someone the other week, and she's in marketing, and her website says she does helps you with your organic marketing. And then she was telling me, she's like, and people are telling me that they don't actually know what organic marketing is. And so it's like the people looking for marketing don't know what organic
They don't know what
marketing.
organic. They're like, what
And
is that?
so
Organic food? Organic? Like, what are we talking about?
yes, exactly. And so it's that kind of like double check your message,
Yeah.
make sure it's clear, make sure it's in words that your people use, and that it really speaks to them and what they're doing.
That's great. I mean, that is something that I think all of us should be doing every once in a while, maybe once a quarter, just take a look and see how people have responded to our messaging. So that's great advice, Christy. And then you have something called the True Brand Power Plan. So tell us who it's for and like how does it work?
Yeah. So this is like the first step to work with me. I require it. So before we do a full new website or anything like that, we do the True Brand Power Plan. And it's really for experts who are growing or they're getting more visibility. So you might be getting more speaking engagements or podcast engagements, or you're adding new offers, growing your team, that kind of thing. And what you have is no longer working, aligned. You don't want to share it. Like
Yeah.
people ask for your link and you're like, or you give it like that. Here's my link, but it's outdated, so don't trust.
Right.
Don't trust what's on there. That kind of feeling.
Uh-huh.
This is a great step to take, because the True Brand Power Plan is just a deep dive. I ask a bunch of questions. We're really auditing what you have, as well as looking at where you want to go and your kind of future vision for your business and yourself, and then laying out those brand related steps for you to take those next steps. So oftentimes it's related to your messaging, your voice, your personality, as well as like your website, site structure, marketing steps to go forward. All of those things go into that. And then from there, you can then look at, oh, my brand identity and visuals and website need to be redone. And so you have that plan before you do the fun stuff, I guess.
Wow, it's very thorough and it's like foundational. Like you have the steps and you know exactly how to bring your client through that process so they're confident and comfortable. And so that said, I guess I'm just ready to see how we can connect with you and work with you. What's the next steps if we're ready to bring our brand together with more confidence and clarity?
Yeah, reach out. I'd love to just have a conversation. My website is cooperandhart.com. You can also find my social links from there. Find me on LinkedIn and Instagram.
Perfect. Christi, thank you so much for sharing with us today about branding, and it was delightful talking to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was great.